Show. John Cobelt and Ken Champeau. We're at the Ayers Hotel in Costa Mesa today. We've got two big events going on. At 5 o'clock, we're going to have the trial of the tax traders. Karen Bass, Darrell Steinberg, Dave Cogdill, and Mike Valines, the four bastards who, along with Schwarzenegger, engineered the largest tax increase in United States history. With Valines and Cogdill being the worst because they engineered. Well, they not only engineered the tax increase, they signed no new taxes pledges. In fact, Valines even came on our show and said 17 times that the Republicans were never going to raise taxes. So we are going to have a trial at 5 o'clock. You will see Ken and I dressed up in wigs, robes, with a gavel and a bailiff, and the four defendants will be here, or reasonable facsimiles of the four defendants.
No, they may show. It's a cliffhanger. They got until 5 o'clock to show up, and it's possible that all four of them will be here in this courtroom at the Ayers Hotel in Costa Mesa. So the trial of the tax traders will begin at 5 o'clock. Before that, we'll have some special guests on the show, including politicians who are opposing some of the tax traders in the upcoming June 8th election, which is 2 weeks away from today. And in front of us right now, sitting in actually kind of weird, the tax trader seats, but that's just sort of the way it works.
These three are not on trial, at least not yet.
They are not on trial. It's a little odd. We thought we'd be facing them like you might in terms of a real kind of debate discussion, but they're facing the audience sitting in front of us, and to our right, the audience's left, Assemblyman Chuck DeVore is right there. In the center, and I think that's about right, isn't it? In the center is Tom Campbell. Say hello to Tom Campbell. And on your right and our left, the former bigwig with Hewlett-Packard, Carly Fiorina.
Now, for those of you listening at home, we are actually seated on a courtroom set up, and Ken and I are on a high riser behind the three candidates who are on a slightly lower riser. I do have a handheld mic. Is this working, Tony? Is this working? 1, 2, 3. Not yet.
Yeah, it is. You're working.
Now it's working?
Yeah,
okay.
I can hear you.
All right, because I do want to face the candidates, at least in the beginning.
No, it's not working.
Right,
I'm not working either. What's going on?
We'll stay up here then. Okay.
It's safer.
All right, let's start. And we don't have any formal rules for this because every single debate that we've ever watched in our lives have been deadly boring because they're too stilted, too overmanaged, over-controlled. We just wanted to have a real conversation, a real free-for-all conversation so you get an idea of what the candidates are like here. Now, many of you are supporters of these candidates, but we have, over the course of 5 hours, about 1 million people listening, and I'm sure we'll replay this debate in the next week to come. So this is for the radio audience who don't necessarily know who Chuck DeVore and Tom Campbell and Carly Fiorina are. Maybe they know their names. They don't necessarily know their positions or their personality, and that's what this is about. So, for the sake of the radio audience, let's not get out of control cheering any of these candidates. That kind of skews people's feelings when they're listening. Okay?
And apparently we have a zero-tolerance policy on signs. If you hold up a political sign, you'll be carried out nude.
You got that?
No signs. Where's Neil?
That's our form of execution here.
All right. We don't have our bailiff here yet, but he'll be here later, and he'll put you under a house arrest.
All right, so we're going to start. The first question, we'll start with Carly Fiorina here. And the way we're going to do it is, Carly, you can answer, and then Tom and Chuck, you can answer as well, okay? Just, don't bloviate for an hour.
No, and I think as we move on during the hour here, if you guys want to cut in, I mean, that's kind of the way our show is. We interrupt each other all the time. We interrupt guests. I wouldn't overdo it, but if you really feel like you have an important point to counter whatever's being said, we invite you to do that. It's not so structured that you have to go one at a time for a boring 2 minutes before somebody else can speak.
All right, let's start with Carly. Now, for 16 years, Californians have wanted something dramatic done on illegal immigration since 1994 and Prop 187. And for 16 years, we've had two senators, Feinstein and Boxer, completely out of sync with what the vast majority wants. I'm not interested in a position here. What I'm interested in is action. How are you going to be an advocate for California on this immigration issue?
Well, let's start by demanding that the federal government do its job. It is the federal government's job to secure the border. They haven't done it. This administration has defunded securing the border. And what I find fascinating is while the people of Arizona are doing what they need to do to protect their citizens, Senator Barbara Boxer stood and cheered as President Calderon called us out for our law in Arizona. Senator Boxer challenged the constitutionality of the Arizona law. Senator Boxer has done everything but advocate that the federal government do its job and secure the border. And that is why Barbara Boxer must be defeated in November, and I am the candidate who can defeat her.
How are you going to be an advocate, though?
Well, you start by demanding that the federal government do its job. I mean, Barbara Boxer hasn't said a thing. Today, I think it's finally today that because of the demands of John McCain and John Kyle from Arizona, President Obama finally said today that maybe he was prepared to send National Guard to the border. In other words, those two fine Americans stood up and demanded that the federal government do its job instead of allowing President Obama and Senator Boxer to continue to change the subject. The subject is the federal government must do its job. It has not done its job.
Tom?
Well, I'm sick and tired of having our president apologize. He's apologized in Europe. He's apologized in Egypt. He's apologized to the president of Mexico. I don't get it. How can the president of the United States apologize for the sovereign act of one of the 50 sovereign states? It's an embarrassment. Secondly, I strongly support the right of Arizona to take the step that it has. And when I did so, I was immediately attacked by Howard Dean's former campaign manager, who's put together this hit piece on me, saying, "Don't let Tom Campbell take California down the dark path to racism." The word racism is used to intimidate. It's used to silence people so that you don't have an honest debate. And in this regard, I'm sorry that Calif introduced the word racist in applying a comment to Republicans. The question, do Republicans need to make any changes in their approach to the growing Hispanic community? Response, Carly Fiorina, there has been a very unfortunate racist tone that has emerged in a lot of this discussion about immigration, and that's inexcusable. No, it is not the Republicans who are introducing the R word. At least it shouldn't be, Carly. The Democrats are doing it because they want to silence us. What the federal government needs to do, in addition to an extension of the wall, the barrier, is to provide an E-Verify system mandatory and sanctions to employers who break the law just as much as the illegal alien who crossed the line.
All right. Chuck?
Well, let's be clear about why it is that Barbara Boxer has been exceptionally weak on illegal immigration. She's weak because she believes in a bigger federal government with more social welfare. They want more people dependent on government, and for them the prize is a mass amnesty that would add millions of people to the voter rolls just in time for the November 2010 election, or failing that, November 2012. That is what is at stake here. That is the prize. Now, what's kind of fun to have this question asked of me in a John and Ken audience is I think the very first time I was on the John and Ken show was a few years back when I led the legislative walkout of the speech by Vicente Fox to the joint session of the California legislature, because he was on his farewell tour and he was telling Americans what we should do about our immigration law, when in Mexico it's actually a violation of the criminal code to be in Mexico as an illegal immigrant. First offense 3 years, second offense 10 years in prison. So here we are discussing U.S. immigration law, and we have the visiting foreign head of state telling us what to do in the legislature. And I thought it would be inappropriate to disrupt the speech, so I led a boycott with over a dozen lawmakers. And I'm very proud to say, of course, Tom McClintock joined me. And aren't we proud of what Tom McClintock did?
All right, Chuck.
Of course, talking about his speech the other day in Congress, which is now, of course, gone viral. It's legendary what Tom McClintock had to say about Felipe Calderon's speech to Congress. All right, we have to take a break. We do?
Yeah, we do. When we come, somebody's got to pay for all this. So we come back, we'll have more, our debate with Chuck DeVore and Tom Campbell and Carly Fiorina, 3 Republican candidates. They're running for the right to take on Barbara Boxer in November. And the election day is coming soon. June 8th is primary election day. So we'll have more with them for the rest of the hour on the John and Ken Show. Ayers Hotel in Costa Mesa. Later on, trial of the tax traders. KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk radio.